Hello everyone, welcome to this new video of classes and objects, and with this classes and objects concept we are now going on to the next concept that is called as constructors. Well, we have already gone through the concept of methods and now we are jumping on to the new concept of constructors. So what are constructors? They are basically a block of codes which is similar to that of the methods, or we can also call it as the special methods. Why? Because whenever the constructors are being called, they are a new instance of the class is basically created. At the time of calling constructors, memory for the object is also allocated. Therefore, it is called as the special type of method which is actually used to initialize the object. Every single time the object is being created, at least one constructor will always get called. Now, let us just check how the constructors are to be created. For every constructor to be created, we have a rule for that. That is the syntax. So what is the syntax now? Number 1 point. Also, I will also discuss the differences between constructors and methods as well. Okay. So number 1 point, I will write down the syntax. So in the syntax, you don't have to mention the return type. You can define access modifiers, that is public, private, protected, and default. But you are not supposed to mention the return type because return types are not allowed in constructors. Number 2 point, name of the constructor. Whatsoever name you are going to give, well, there is a defined rule for that as well, but the name you are giving to the constructor, you have to mention that. And after that, the block of the statements which you are going to define, that is the task of the constructor, what task it is going to do, you have to mention as well. Now the most important point is the access modifier, the name of the constructor, and then the task. It is somewhat similar to that of the methods. Now let me create a real constructor for now. So we have to mention the access modifier, but I am not giving any kind of access modifier for now. I can also write public, that means accessible from everywhere, right? But it's okay if you write down, and it's okay if you will also not mention the access modifier right now. Then the name of the constructor. The second rule for mentioning the defining the constructors is that the name of the constructor should be same as that of the name of the class. So the name of the class is here is what? Classes objects. So with the same name, the constructor will get created. You cannot define the name of any other thing. Okay, so you have to mention the name of the class as well with the same name. The task you have to define. So for example, I will be writing here Constructor1. Similarly, if let me just execute this first constructor. Okay, so how am I going to execute this or call this constructor? I will simply write the name of the class जिसका हम लोगों ने constructor बनाया है. Then I will create the object is equal to new classes and objects. So for this time, normally what we do usually, we used to write ob dot something, I mean the name of the method. But while you are creating the constructors, you are definitely not going to call anything, because this part, whenever you are creating the object, the constructor part is automatically called, because this is the constructor calling part over here. That is why the statement which I mentioned, that whenever a new object is created, the constructor part is always called and a new instance of a class is created. So this part of the constructor calling will get called and the constructor will get executed. Let us now check how it will get executed. I will just execute it. See, constructor1 has been called. Now the rule number 2. It is because for now in my class there is nothing to be, no element over here. So right now I don't require my object because there is no element. I'm not calling any of the elements. So I can also use it like this. See, there is a reference variable, there is a reference of the object, but I haven't stored that reference into any of the variables. Okay, the reference has been stored, but the reference of this object has not been stored into any of the variable. So now, similarly, if So now similarly, if I have to create another constructor, so basically what actually, after creating a constructor, what has happened? A new instance of a class has been created, and using this concept, using creating a constructor, the object, whatsoever object has been created, that will be initialized by the values which you are going to provide them. I will just show you another example if we have to create another constructor. So this is another constructor, because the constructor's name will always be same as I mentioned. One important point, the structure of the constructors will never be same. So you have to provide it a parameter like in the methods we have already done. So then you will be calling out okay. So whenever you will be calling out this new constructor, you have to provide it a value like in the methods we do. So whenever you want to call this constructor, you will be providing it a value. Say number 3 point, it is not necessary to always call the constructors like this. You can obviously write the full statement like we used to do is equal to this. I haven't used it right now because there are no any other elements in our class to which I am going to access it. So you can also create the object like this full statement. So if you can see the warning coming over here, the value of local variable OB is not used, right? So that was the only reason I was not writing the statement completely like this. Okay, so if you want, you can write the statement like this, because currently our class is having no other element to which I am going to access using that object. Therefore, I have written the statement like this. So this is how we are going to create the constructors. Okay, hope you guys understand the concept. Thank you very much.